Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call?
Commissioner Cagney. Commissioner Hood. Present. Commissioner Prince.
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And clerk to the board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I do, Madam Chairman, I would like to bring up under old business the increase for the DSO, the service office, that we have discussed multiple times. I'd like to bring that up under old business if I may.
Okay, may I have a motion to amend the agenda?
I move that we amend the agenda to include additional revenue received from the DSO office.
I'll second the motion as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, let's have audience introduction. We'll start at that.
Mike Martin, Wetmore.
Stephanie Smith, Wetmore. Elizabeth Lyman, Custer. Jackie Jewis for Sutton.
Ann Wilson, Custer County.
John Johnston, West Cliff.
Ann Barker.
Dallas Anderson, Custer County.
Linda Anderson, Custer County.
Wade Robinson, New Mexico.
Lisa Frank, Silver Cliff.
Jason Coleman, Westcliff.
Jackie Hobby, Custer County Planning and Zoning.
Brenda Gady, admin to the board.
Gary Hunt, Road Ridge.
Roger Squire, Road Ridge. Yeah.
Just introduction.
Clint Smith, attorney for the county.
Okay, thank you. Okay, approval of minutes. We had an amendment to the minutes of June 30th. Yes, we'll take these.
I move that we accept the amendment to the minutes of June 30th as stated.
Okay. I'll second that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, it's passed.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for July 5th and July 6th as stated.
I'll second as seeing no corrections. Second that statement. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Okay. Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Misty? I see on the agenda that you're going to bring up dark skies and storage containers as possible referral to the planning committee. Dark skies thing, I think it's really great that such a few amount of people got an international recognition for this place. What I don't agree with is passing any kind of an ordinance forcing people to buy or use any certain lighting fixtures, that sort of thing. The dark skies thing is good. The people that use that, they're hobbyists. Amateur astronomy is nothing more than a hobby. You've got a group of less than 100 people. I don't see that the county should be put under any kind of ordinance for a hobby. At 3,000 kelvins, a light is not bright enough to do anything with it. There's been people in the valley that has stated that the brighter lights over their corrals and their ranches have saved their lives. So I recommend that dark skies ordinance does not get referred to the planning committee.
And could I add one thing? The people I have talked to are all for the dark skies. They just don't want to be legislated. And people are putting fence over their heads anyway. And I don't see fines and jail time.
I just want to say that we appreciate your comments. How did you come up with the number of 100 people, Dale?
Just by reading the articles in the paper or the night sky gatherings that they have in West Cliff, and it's obvious that the gatherings were never more than 100, maybe 150 people at most. So that's just a deduction from
That's a deduction by what you read in the paper.
from the information.
Okay.
Okay, second thing, storage containers. I was at the meeting that person stood up and complained about seeing a storage container in his neighborhood. My first thing is that I'm sure that guy lives in an HOA subdivision. He could go to his HOA and they could ban storage containers in there.
Okay, but how do you know he lives in HOA? How do you know where he lives? I'm just curious.
He lives up by Buck Mountain. It's an HOA subdivision. Okay. The storage, those containers are the perfect thing for the ranches. They're fireproof, they're waterproof, they're animal-proof. You can store anything in them. They're easy to move. And it only takes a couple of years after you move one for the ground to grow over and it leaves no trace. Doesn't need to have a foundation or anything. Back in the late 40s, early 50s, I remember a lot of used railroad boxcars became available, and ranchers bought those things up like they were good. Perfect thing to store cattle feed, anything in. We had some people complain about that. From somewhere in the state of Colorado, they were informed that those boxcars were a perfect tool for ranchers, and that moving containers are also perfect tools. This guy that wants to complain about things that he doesn't like to see, and he did say that he lived in many municipalities and they had ordinances about such things. Since there's no building code in the county, and none in the state either, as far as that goes, people can do anything they want to contain their tubes, feed, whatever. This guy's living right in the middle of the Colorado, right to Farmer Man's Law. And I don't think that his complaint should not be sousted off on the whole county to control whatever people want to use to store their properties, tools, feed, whatever. So I recommend that is not the case.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I respond? Alice, thank you for your comments. I hate to jump the gun on dark skies. There's no resolution, there's no ordinance, there's nothing other than the headline in the paper that says, change your light bulb, go to jail, which is totally untrue. Dark skies has not brought anything to us to ask us what to approve. We'll go to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make a recommendation. What comes to us, I have no idea. I will echo with you that regulating the lights with severe penalties is probably not an appropriate thing. So I think you're jumped the gun on penalties and going to jail and whatever else.
I never mentioned any of
I
that.
understand, but it's been out in the paper that it was. So what I would recommend is let's wait and see what comes out on Dark Skies. It may be, and I don't know because it hasn't gone through the process, but it may simply be, we would like you to put in this type of light without any penalties whatsoever. And if you do a specific kind of light, I know Dark Skies has said multiple times that they in fact would pay for the light. Just pay it out. So I think I understand what you're saying, and I think very well said. As far as the storage units, one person made a complaint about storage units. I think it's going to be very difficult for this county to set an ordinance because one person doesn't like a specific thing. So let's wait and see again what planning and zoning says. But I get what you're saying, I understand it, but I'm a little concerned that there's some misinformation out there that we're recommending no storage units and go to jail if you put in the wrong kind of light. This is not the truth.
Well, you know that I sit in commission meetings. I don't have to take my information from anyone else. What I know what's going on in the meetings. So just letting you know that my feelings on those two subjects, and I can generate up to 30 or 40 other people that feel the same way. As you may or may not know, there are hundreds of those shipping containers in the county. People are using them for storage. The most important part of that, I think, is that they're fireproof. You can store your spare gasoline, diesel, hobby flammables and stuff like that in the storage container. Gives a super high rating on my homeowner's insurance. So it's just perfect for out in the country.
I think your point's very well taken, and I appreciate the comments. We'll wait and see where it comes to us, and we'll take many more comments before I need to see
I'm a
it.
step ahead of everything for you to know, what
I appreciate
it
it.
is about.
Excuse me just a minute. Bob, would you like to take? Okay, we're just in the middle of public comment.
Hi, Bob. Sorry I'm late, folks. I didn't realize that 96 was paving the road today.
Jack?
For the record, this is the second time you've said that about the paper's headline. The paper, I can speak for George, I guess, because he wrote that. He simply read the proposed draft that does have penalties of kind of not more than $100 or by imprisonment in the county jail. So
The headline did say, change type of code.
Right,
That's what I
right.
referred to.
And so
That's
does
all I
the
referred
draft.
to.
And that's what I'm referring. Oh,
That's fine. Any other public comments? Lisa?
To Dallas's point about when you asked Donna how many, how he knew 100 people, how many people are there, and where's your source?
How many?
As a commission, Dark Skies, he mentioned that this is a hobby group of 100 people, and you asked him, how do you know it's 100 people?
Yes.
So I want to ask you, how many people are there interested in Dark Skies, and where do you get that information?
I'm going to defer this to Clint and ask him to take off his county attorney hat because,
As the vice president of Dark Skies?
Yes, okay.
I'd be happy to talk about this at great length in my capacity as an officer at Dark Skies, but I really think this is premature. The issue right now is referring it to the Planning Commission. This is not a proposed ordinance. Everybody talks about it as an ordinance. It's not a proposed ordinance. it's amending the zoning resolution. That's a whole different thing. And the zoning resolution already has language regarding light pollution in the county. The proposal is to amend that somewhat, including the 3,000 Kelvin, or lumens, excuse me.
No, it's 3,000.
3,000 Kelvin, right. But all of that is something that, it's up to the planning commission to go through that whole public meetings. The comments that you're making here are comments that need to be addressed to the planning commission. I mean, to answer a specific question, our Dark Skies organization has about a dozen voting members, maybe 15, 16 that come to the meetings generally. When we put on these public star parties, these are people from the community. These are people that drive down from Colorado Springs and Denver.
I've been to one. I understand who they are.
And
Yeah, I
these are people that
understand.
come from out of state
I
just to
understand.
see what we've got.
I've been, so I
Okay.
understand that. I was the one since you are VP of Dark Skies, it's an international organization?
International Dark Skies Association,
international?
IDA, yes.
Okay, where is its main, what country is
The
its
main thing is in England. The headquarters for the division of it in this country is in Phoenix. And that's when we got the certification for the 2 towns to be dark sky communities, that came through Phoenix, submitting everything there. And that's the individual we talk to, or the organization that we report to, and the effort to try to possibly get the county, the entire valley designated as a dark sky reserve would be the same. We would have to go through Phoenix.
And I love our dark skies. To also echo Dallas's statement, I love our dark skies. I do. I lived on solar for 18 and a half years. You don't leave lights on when you live on solar. However, the 2 towns I think is great, but why it should be a county-wide, I don't get that. I don't know what benefit the county would gain. And I knew Smokey Jack when she started Dark Skies here, and I don't think that was ever her intent, was to hobble a rancher or anybody out in the county where there are no street lights, and it's wonderful. Some people driving around don't like it, that don't know their way around, but that's the way our county is. We don't have a lot of rural electric. So I just wanted to know if Dallas was asked how many people are really interested in dark skies, and he thought 100, and that from a gathering. I just wanted to know how many people are on this committee. You told me 15 or 16 attend the meeting, correct?
Right.
And how many in the organization?
That's about it.
That's about it.
I have voting members about a dozen. I haven't counted them, and several other people that come because they're interested in their meetings, but they're not voting members.
And I like that we are a dark sky community. I just don't like over-regulating.
And I just think this is premature at this point.
Again, it might be premature, but it's of concern to
And
us
I
as a
understand, and I would
citizen.
invite everybody to come. The planning commission is going to have several public meetings and workshops, and they will want to hear input from everybody on this at the appropriate time. It's going to be a procedure that takes several months, but they do have workshops where they kind of talk about the nuts and bolts of proposed language, and they have public meetings where they get general feedback, like what you've just given us and what Dallas has given us.
Nice if we had workshops on maybe better roads or better access or maybe fire mitigation. I don't know why we're having workshops on dark skies.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? Yes, please.
You want me to stand? Whatever you want. Okay. So I'm Ann Barker, Take Back Custer County Recall Chair, and I want to make the following statement. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution prohibits the making of any law respecting an establishment of religion, ensuring that there is no prohibition on the free exercise of religion, abridging the freedom of speech, infringing on the freedom of the press, interfering with the right to peacefully assemble, or prohibiting the petitioning for governmental redress of grievances. It was adopted on December 15, 1791,
as one of the 10 amendments that constitute the Bill of Rights. Custer County citizens need commissioners who govern with accountability, compassion, due process, truth, and transparency in order to foster community trust and protect civil liberties and rights. The current county commissioners are not fulfilling these needs, allowing intimidation and an atmosphere of fear to permeate throughout the county, making citizens and public employees fearful of signing a recall petition. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else have a comment?
Just a copy if you needed it for the
Yes, ma'am.
minutes.
On the draft that y'all handed out at the light meeting, the dark skies meeting, I wanted some clarification on a couple of things. It says here that any light source exceeding 500 initial lumens must be fully shielded. For one, what is the definition of fully shielded?
I'm going to say this isn't a dark skies meeting and we can't answer that.
Okay, well then, I'm going to continue to ask then. You say that, and I understand y'all don't agree with the headline, change a light bulb, go to jail. But it does say here, underneath the penalties,
It's not been accepted.
I understand it hasn't been accepted, but it's being put out that people will not end up in jail for non-compliance. But it is in this statement here, if they do not comply, that they will face fines and imprisonment. So I don't see how dark skies, I love the idea of dark skies. It should be voluntary. I don't feel that it should be forced upon people with fines and threats of jail. The other thing I have concerns on, it says here, anything over 500 lumens. Well, a 40-watt bulb, according to your chart here, is 600 lumens. Now, if I have to go out in the middle of the night to check on my livestock animals with a 40-watt bulb, living in mountain lion and bear country, I don't think that's very secure for one. That's just not smart. You can't see what's going on with just a 40-watt bulb. So again, I think that the lumens and everything should be looked at and considered.
And I'm going to just reiterate what Clint has said. There are going to be several other public meetings. So I'm just going to ask you to attend one of those public meetings so that it can be heard. This is just public comment and we're listening. Any other comments? Yes.
I would like to echo a couple of things that have already been said regarding, first of all, dark skies, and secondly, the containers. I'm just wondering, whatever the planning commission is putting forth to you, if you don't agree, will you say so? Or, I mean, how much say-so do they have within their recommendations to you? And if you're listening to everybody and truly taking to heart what the majority are saying, will you vote against something that they may recommend?
I'm still listening. There have been no decisions set forth to the commissioners. You're listening.
Okay, listening is good, but do you have any thoughts at this point, or are you just listening?
Nothing's been presented at this time to the commissioners, so I'm not sure what you're insinuating.
Well, there's a draft out there for dark skies that's going to the planning commission, right? Which is really kind of threatening to people. So I guess how much over the planning commission are you planning on doing?
I'm not planning on anything at this point. As I stated, we are listening, so I'm not sure what you're insinuating.
Just kind of wondering where you're at with these things that are coming down the line.
I'm not anywhere because we still have public meetings to listen to. To my knowledge, we've had one public meeting with regards to dark skies. Am I not true in saying we've had one public meeting? We've had two public meetings. We had a workshop and a public meeting. The first was a workshop, okay? So we've had two. We're still listening. As Clint just said, there's going to be several. No decisions have been made. We're listening.
The draft was just a starting point, something to give them a place to work from. It's not saying this is what we want by any means. They can change it, they can throw the whole thing out. They can say, we don't want to do anything as far as amending the zoning resolution, as far as lighting goes, so that nobody is locked into that or saying that this is what's going to happen. It was just having something on paper, so when we had that first, or those other two meetings, we had something to talk about.
May I comment? The planning commission is going to take over when they make a motion today to look at dark skies and the containers. We will have as many public meetings and get as much public input as we can before we even start the process. And the planning commission can tell the commissioners, yes, this is what we think would be good for Custer County, or no. Whatever way they go, then we have workshops to iron out what would actually be in the zoning regs. But let me do tell you that if it does go in the zoning regs, then there is penalties. Everything that goes in the zoning regs has a penalty to it. But just because one of the drafts said a 40-watt light bulb does not mean that the planning commission's even going to go with a 40-watt light bulb. The planning commission is there to listen to the public. Then they make a recommendation to the commissioners. And it's either a yes or a no recommendation. So it's a great process. Custer County has a super duper process, and I believe that you will see that the process works for everyone.
Jane had something.
Clint, help me with this if I'm not correct. Can the planning commission, if we put it into the zoning regulations, could we exempt a fine and a penalty on a regulation, a specific regulation, if that was chosen?
I'd have to look at that. I don't think there's any exceptions in there, are there? I don't think so.
Then could this be adopted outside the planning and zoning commission if that's something that the Board of County Commissioners chose to do?
I guess there are a variety of options, but I would suggest that we do it this way, go through the planning commission, since we already had language in the zoning resolution that theoretically, how many people have you sent to jail for violating the current light pollution regulations?
None.
And how many have you sent to jail for violating any of the zoning resolutions?
None.
All right.
How many have you fined?
$100 a day?
Or, no, because that's just dark skies. But if there are fines for a zoning violation, aren't there fines? People have been fined, maybe not gone to jail, but I know that there have been people fined for having to pay 3 times, if they haven't picked up a building permit, that's paid 3 times. So fines have been imposed.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, don't make light of it.
I'd like to maybe clarify a couple of things, folks. I think we're drifting. First of all, we appoint the Planning and Zoning Commission. As you recall, this year we had a bit of a rhubarb over who we were appointing because the people on the commission have been there a long time. But they've been there a long time because they've been active for a long time. We don't have to refer something to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They can go through your office and be referred to them. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
And
what
so they are, in essence, an independent advisory group. So they do their due diligence and then bring it forth to the county commissioners. When it comes forth to the county commissioners, and then we listen to their recommendations, and we may say yes or no. But in my 2.5 years here, I don't think, Jackie, that we've ever had maybe more than 1 or 2 times that we've not taken the the planning commission recommendations.
No, in fact, I do not remember any time but once that the Board of County Commissioners, when what was recommended, they said no. But that was when we had a joint meeting, and it was over a business being located.
But I would like you folks to understand this is just the first step in the process. This is not something that, right now, I have no position on this. I'm gonna wait and see what you feel folks say and what the commission, what the planning and zoning says. The setting on the container. I don't know what the discussion was. I got here late and I apologize, but I've got a container. Kind of useful.
You only got one?
Oh, so far. But anyway, folks, my point being is that I think we brought some good points up here. This is for a public comment period, not an in-depth discussion. If all of you have been heard, I think that's great. If you have something else, but relax. This is just the process.
We are relaxed. This is just, we're giving you our public comment, that's all.
Well, and I appreciate that. What I'm saying is that
Glad you do.
we come back to here, and I'm not going to make any decisions until after I see what planning.
We know that, you've all said that, but you've asked for public comment. So that's what we're giving you, is our public comment.
Public comment, wait a minute, if I may add one more thing now. Traditionally, if something's going to take more than about 5 minutes, we put it on another agenda so we have time to discuss it.
I see,
And we'd be happy to do
I
that.
see. Well, there's 2 items.
Back to you.
So we get 10 minutes?
Actually, we've taken this a little bit too far.
Maybe because the commissioners are talking too much. This gentleman wanted to say something. It's public comment.
Lisa, are you running the meeting?
No.
I'm going to ask, we'll give 2 minutes to each one.
I just have a very quick question. If someone comes in and complains about windmills, anything, does that automatically, I'm just asking the process, does that automatically go to the planning commission for them to look at it? Or can you say, give me a break, we're not going to take up the planning commission's time with one person's complaint? Just a quick question.
I hear it.
That's an excellent comment. I think it's appropriate. And I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't just this one gentleman was talking about containers. We've heard this in letters and some other things before. So they said, well, let's just go ahead and state this question. And this question very well taken in terms of one person makes a complaint. Is that enough to start a process? I personally don't feel it is, but there's been multiple times this has been requested. I think you heard Commissioner Gatling say he has one. I don't know where it's going to go.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to you, but I think your point's well
Okay,
taken.
thank you.
John?
Donna, you've used the word insinuating, so I'm going to use the same word, insinuating. But Jerry Prince, publicly in writing, has stated that he wants the planning and zoning board to recommend adopting a building code to the BOCC. So that's, his mind's already made up. He wants the recommendation.
I'll respond to that.
I'd like to make one more comment. Is this the first, all of you have ever heard of the dark skies from the commissioner's standpoint? Is this new to everybody? Because about 14 or 15 years ago, the Board of County Commissioners wrote letters to the energy companies and to the newspapers endorsing a dark sky concept countywide. It wasn't made as a formal action. But if you'll go back and look in the minutes, you go back and look into the records, you'll see that the Custer County Board of County Commissioners at one time took a stand in favor of dark skies. So it's not the first blush, and it's not, you know, there was some points made then, and we've gone forward from there. That's not the first time it's happened.
I'll respond. I'd just like to respond to your comment, Mr. Johnston. I did say that. I've said multiple times that I'm in favor of a building code. What building code is what I don't know. If it comes out to be overly restrictive, I will vote against it. To me, this is a health and safety issue for the people. I recognize there's 2 sides to this. There's also government interference with the private ownership of land. I get it. If it's not restrictive and it's a safety issue, I'm in favor of it. I have publicly said I'm in favor of it, but I promise you, if it comes out and it's too restrictive and it takes away our constitutional rights, I'll be the first to say no when the vote comes. So I just want to clarify that.
I wanted to thank Jackie because she's explained the process and how the proposals and everything. She's explained it much better than anyone else I've heard. And I feel that people probably wouldn't be in such an uproar about it if there was more clarity as to the process and exactly all the steps and what goes into it. Because a lot of this is coming from misinformation or lack of information, period, to the public. And so it does send up warning flags when all you're reading is about the proposed fines and things like that. So I feel that if the statement was made explaining the steps and the process, people wouldn't be quite as upset and they might understand better. Thank you.
Good point.
Would you like to resume the meeting?
Thank you for all of your comments. The next item on the agenda is our commissioner items. I'll start with Commissioner Prince down on the end.
Well, I've been very active with affordable housing, we've had a meeting, early childhood development, we've met. I've been active in the Wetmore Community Center. We still have some issues down there in terms of the proper finalization of the punch list that has not been done. I've been in contact with the contractor and architect, and fortunately we're holding our reserve of a little over 80, I think it's maybe 87,000, somewhere in the neighborhood, as a final payment, which I've asked Ms. Harvey not to release until such time as we're convinced that all the punch list items are done. They seem to have this may be a whine, but it seems like our contractors have moved on to other projects and kind of just left us sitting there. And to the people of Wetmore, I know there are many people here, I feel bad that we have some issues that are still outstanding. But we're not going to stop until Wetmore building is exactly the way it's supposed to be, up and running, with the dishwasher working, with the utility sink in the basement that we're paying for. So those are the kind of things I'm working on. Other myriad things, like with Dallas on the pumps, we're having issues with the fuel dispenser, and I've contacted the company's headquarters and spoken to the VP who promised me to take care of any of them yesterday. That's not done, so I'm going to be right back on their tail again today. Just doing what you pay me to do.
Mr. Commissioner, before you talk to them, I have information for you.
Oh, great, thank you. You can call me Chuck.
Donna?
Okay. On July 7th, Friday, we had a budget workshop, the first one that's ever been given for budgeting for county government. Most of the elected officials and directors, some of which are who present today, took part in that 4-hour training. I personally found it very valuable. I think others in the room found it valuable. We actually learned about some Colorado revised state statutes that we should be going by. Through that, we had a ton of forms that are very valuable that we are going to put in use to help with strategic planning for current and future capital items that we've never discussed before. So I'm just going to say, all in all, I thought the workshop was very valuable. We had our county fair from July 7th through the 16th. Very successful county fair. Roger actually lost his voice.
That's what I do every year.
But it was great. And the kids had fun and it was very successful. On the 12th, I attended a regional Southern Colorado economic development meeting, one of which I go to quarterly. Nothing really new other than commissioners around the table were saying what was happening in their counties. And there's some internal issues that they're having, and hoping that that gets resolved soon. The Tourism Bureau hosted the gentleman that we hired from VistaWorks from the 12th of July through the 14th. He spent 2 days here going through the highlights of our county, 2 solid days, and happy to report that the website, the new website, should be up within the month. So that's what I think.
I might say that budget workshop was a super seminar.
Well, as we go forward, folks, for our budgeting, in the past, we've had in September with the different departments that submitted their budgets by the 1st September. We go through them, kind of get a feel for what's there. October, have the hearings, do some more fine tuning as we get down towards the end of the year. And then we adopt the budget. This year, trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. And there are two things that I think you need to be cognizant of. First of all, because of some existing legislation this year, your property tax will go down. The mill levy goes down. So that will decrease slightly the dollars we're going to be getting into the county from the real estate. Secondly, we get money from the state for highway users tax, which goes into our county road and bridge funds. We also have other areas that we're looking at. We get sales tax. I don't know what the sales tax picture is looking at. Well, John, you're a businessman on Main Street, but my sense is I see more activity up and down the street in the county than I saw last year. Maybe that's not accurate, but that's what I'm sensing. So hopefully, you say it's down?
It's about the same, I think.
But hopefully we're not going down. And again, if sales tax income is up, that'll be a plus side. So we work very carefully with Donna Hobby and with John Paquette, who is our budget officer, and making projections, and then fine-tuning those projections and fine-tuning them again until we finally adopt the budget. So this step that we've gone through this workshop was just the first step to really get down in the weeds, identify what people are going to want this year, what they need next year, what they need 5 years down the road. Because it's important from a budget standpoint that we start putting money aside for purchases that we're going to have to make down the road. And road and bridge is an example. In terms of the equipment that we've got, I think I'm speaking correctly here. This last week they've been doing some chipping on the highways. And I think you mentioned to me 2 or 3 times it'd be nice to have a roller. And that's just a piece of equipment that we need. And we need to find a way that we can get it into the system and get it. So that's the main thing we're trying to do with this budget. Okay, attorney items.
2 things. One, I talked to John Naylor a few weeks ago. When we had the open house for the Wetmore Community Center, John was invited. He was expected to be there. He didn't show up. I talked to him the next day, and as you know, John has health problems, and he just said it was not a good day for him that day, and he apologized to those of you who did show up hoping to see John. But there was a gift basket for John, and I delivered it to him in his office in Pueblo, and I visited with him. John had a huge stack of files, boxes of files from his 46 years as county attorney, and he wanted to know whether the county wanted those files. I mean, it's sort of a treasure trove, but it would be a huge nightmare for storage. I have no idea if there's any room to store all these files. I told John I'd get back to him, and frankly, it slipped my mind. I just thought of it on my way here this morning. So I need to know whether any of you feel it might be important to have John's files, and if so, if we have some place to put them. Storage container, maybe?
Container, yeah. Get a container.
I think that's something that from a history standpoint in our county, that's 46 years of history. It is. And if we get into issues and want to know what happened in the past, I think it's important we have access to some of these. I don't know what we can do with them. We'll find some place to, I would spend some of you two think also. I think it'd be something that we certainly want to try to find some place to put. And I don't know where they would be. If nothing else, we may send them to the state archives and put them in Denver someplace. But someplace I would hope that wouldn't be destroyed. It's some history. I think that's important.
I'm going to say in general, our basement has an issue. It is not conditioned space for any paperwork whatsoever.
Yeah,
And I know we have, but I mean, I know that Kelly has her documents down there. I know Donna does. you might be able to squeeze something there, but just know it's not conditioned space.
Well, if we have to, we can rent a dang storage
Container.
place for a while. Well, I just think, folks, at this point, to me, that's a minor issue where we're going to store them. I think the much bigger issue is, are we going to destroy them or not? And I think we need to keep them.
I agree.
Can I make a comment? Yep, the only thing I would suggest if we decide to keep them, and I have no problem keeping them, in fact, I think it's a good idea. I think just having boxes stacked away in a storage unit or a container or whatever we do is going to be really kind of useless unless we have some kind of categorization of the data inside. So if we decide to do that, I would like to maybe hire a part-time student or somebody who could go through the boxes and make indexes of what's in there, so in the event that we do want to look at an issue that was handled 10 or 15 years ago, we're able to find it. That's something I would like to recommend.
The question I would have, though, how many of these records are going to be something that are privileged information from attorney to client? So we have to, I'm not sure that a student could go through and do that. But I think, the question I see right now, with Clint asked is, do we want to keep them or not? And then I think we have to figure out how we can do it. If we can't, I appreciate where you're coming from.
I'll tell John that we do want them, and we'll get back to him on it. He said there was no hurry, so I just wanted to get an answer, so.
Do you know how many boxes they need?
It's gonna be a truckload of boxes.
How big a truck?
More than a pickup truckload. At least, I'd say at least a couple of pickup truckloads if we're gonna do it that way. Some small enclosed truck, you probably get them all in there.
40 boxes.
Well, let's move on. I think we're down in the weeds on this one, folks. We need to move
Okay,
on.
the other issue I had, this is going to take a little bit longer. One of the agenda items that the cattle guards are on County Road 390, we met at our last meeting in Wetmore. It essentially came down to two options. One option is that the Board of County Commissioners would essentially say, no, we're not going to approve the cattle guards and not going to do anything else in that area. The second option that was proposed was to approve Dr. Hamilton's request for cattle guards and to require or request some other conditions, specifically creating an easement of a definite width, which has been an issue for many years, and also the issue of fencing, which has become a problem there. So I talked to Mike Halpin's attorney, Mike's president, I talked to his attorney Don Belleville, and I talked to Marvin Boyd, the property manager for Dr. Hamilton about this. Last time I had talked to Marvin Boyd, he said he was going to discuss this with Dr. Hamilton, get back to him. I hadn't heard from him as of yesterday. I put together a proposed resolution in the event the board decides to go the second route. And again, it's just a draft for them to consider. But this morning I got a text message from, and actually a number of text messages from Mr. Boyd, so I'm just going to read those from the beginning. At 6:30 a.m. his first message came in. I'm going to get all the way down to the end of all this. Robert Hamilton respectfully requests additional time on the cattle guard request. We'd like to be on the August calendar with the Board of County Commissioners. Please confirm receipt of this text. We have additional new information we are compiling for the Commissioners' consideration. We strongly believe this matter can be resolved at the next County Commissioners meeting. I acknowledge receiving that. About 8 o'clock I sent him another message. The Commissioners are going to want an idea of what sort of new information has just come to light at this stage of the game. A large contingent of people from the Wetmore area will be traveling to San Isabel expecting to have this issue resolved today, and they're going to be angry about a last-minute delay. The Commissioners are going to want a reason for postponing the matter. He responded to me, we have waited patiently for over 6 months since our initial request to the Board of County Commissioners. Yet 2 options were presented to us with less than 2 weeks' time. 1 week's time just in getting permission from the Halpin's attorney. We are not being unreasonable with our request for additional time. We formally requested 2 cattle guards to be approved by the County Commission. We are not requesting anything else regarding the road or fencing. We want to install cattle guards at the bus stop turnaround to keep cattle from exiting on Road 390. We have hired a full-time wrangler, and then in parentheses, a husband and wife and 2 kids who will be attending school in Florence, end of parentheses, to manage the Hamilton ranches. They will live full-time on the ranch. They have managed large cattle ranches and do horse training. They will be managing a larger herd. We are discontinuing leasing pasture to third parties. The wrangler will be checking fences and repairing fences. Another message, the loose bull was corralled and taken to the veterinarian in Pueblo, tested negative, all in accordance with the state directives. Next message, I inspected the fence line and identified 2 to 4 areas in need of repairs. This has been scheduled. I responded, I will read these messages to the commissioners at the start of the meeting today. And he responded, we have a large contingent of neighbors and adjacent property owners that are willing to speak publicly in support of Hamilton's ranching operations other than the area adjoining Halpin. I am on vacation next week and would like additional time to meet with Halpin along with our new ranch manager when I get back. We want to improve our relationship with the property owners near County Line Road 390, 391, and the Wetmore community. This will take good efforts on our behalf to earn the neighbors' trust. And then the final message, we are opposed to any fencing on the Hamilton property, given our cattle aspirations. So that was the extent of the communications this morning. That's all I have for attorney items.
Is anybody here to talk on the Hamilton situation? They made a special trip over.
Yes, sir.
Well, I didn't see you back there, Mike. I'm sorry. The proposals that we made suggested Hamilton, Dr. Hamilton, through his manager, was that they put the cattle, we would approve 2 cattle guards if they restored the fence from the second cattle guard down to the Halpin property. And the second one was that if they weren't comfortable doing that, then we would do nothing. The cattle guards wouldn't go in. That's kind of where we left it. And I'd like to see if my colleagues have any thoughts or comments on this. Okay, it's your district, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I remember correctly, and if I don't, please correct me. The last thing we told both Dr. Hamilton, Mr. Boyd from Dr. Hamilton's ranch.
Could you speak up?
I'll be happy to, ma'am, I'm sorry. The last thing I remember that we spoke about was we were going to ask, the Board of County Commissioners asked that Mr. Halpern's representative and Dr. Hamilton's representative get together and bring to the Board of County Commissioners a compromise or some kind of agreement between the 2 parties. To the best of my knowledge, since I have not seen anything, that has not occurred. And do you know if there is anything like that in the works, sir?
No, there isn't. At the last meeting, I said that. For 20 years, there's been no agreement. And I stated my position at the last meeting. Either one of those 2 proposals that you guys have come up with is satisfactory to us. And that's kind of where we're at.
So, was I correct in the comment that the 2 parties were going to bring an agreement to us?
They were supposed to get together and agree on some fencing.
Right, some kind of
From
agreement.
there. So, unless someone has heartburn, and either you'll make a comment, but I would be willing to table this until the next meeting if you think it'd be appropriate. I'm tired of it. We fiddled around. My God, this has been going on for 3 years or 4 years.
We're having trouble here in this little.
I'm sorry, we fiddled around. This thing's been going on for a number of years. We need to get it done. It needs to be wrapped up and solved. And I appreciate Mr. Halpin's position, that he's agreeable with either one of the 2 options that we offer to him. And I think we need to move forward on this. I would, if you don't have a lot of heartburn, folks, I will put, I'm thinking maybe we'll put this on our agenda and it will be solved. We will take a vote next meeting, yes, yea or nay. Does that make sense to my colleagues here?
Well, that's kind of what you said last meeting.
No, I said we were going to do it today.
Right. I did bring 2 letters from other landowners.
I read them, I appreciate that.
That weren't able to be here, and they did say they would like them read at the commissioner meeting.
Jay?
Mr. Chairman, unless I'm missing something, I listened carefully to our attorney's, what he read to us today. I didn't see anything new on what this new revelation is, that this dispute's been going on for many, many years, and at the last minute he comes forward saying, I have a new revelation, move it forward. I'm ready to make a recommendation and get this resolved this morning. We said we were going to do it, and I think we ought to. That's my position.
Can I ask, I'd like to ask Mike out the one question. I'm sure, Mike, I want to be sure you understand the first option was that the request for cattle guards would not be granted. The county won't do anything about defining the width of that easement, which has been an issue for a long time, and the county won't do anything about the fencing problem that now exists. That was the first option, and you said that one is acceptable to you?
Right, I misunderstood the first time you stated that, but I understand your position on that, and that's fine. My opinion, because this has been going on for so long with somebody trying to control that road, is that if you don't define that particular section of road in your county road system with the specific width of your easement, the problem will never truly be resolved.
You have a resolution here?
And that's,
I had a resolution that I had emailed out to the 3 of you yesterday, but I guess, and this was just a proposal, but it basically, the proposal was for the county to declare a 45-foot wide easement. There is a deeded easement already from 1994, 45 feet wide in the area between where he wants the 2 cattle guards. This proposal was for the county to declare a 45-foot wide easement from there on to the Helpins property to be consistent. This also because of the issue of fencing and the fact that all the other property there is fenced, has historically been fenced. This proposal was for the county at its own expense to determine that it wanted fencing there and that the county would install the fencing. And I know at one point we were hoping that Dr. Hamilton would either leave the fencing that was there, which he didn't, he took down, or whether he would pay to put it back up. And it's obvious he's not interested in doing anything with the fencing, so that's what's in this proposal. And I can state very honestly that I think if we go ahead and adopt this resolution, it's going to lead to more litigation.
And I would like to comment.
Go ahead.
My opinion is that we go back to before this whole thing started, 2010, correct me if I'm wrong, and just put things back the way they were. That's my opinion.
If we go back to put it the way it was, that would mean putting the fencing back in place, because there was fencing existing there. And the fence that was in existence prior to 2010, whose fence was that, Mike?
well, from 1978 until about I think when he bought that property back. That historic fence was always there from the original landowner. And a portion of that road was not fenced because it was in the front yard of the home that was there that was lost by Wetmore fire. So they had an opening right there, and the fence actually jogged around their house. On the north side of that road, there was never a historic fence, it was just always an opening. In 2008, Hamilton fenced the north side of that road, and he put the posts right on the edge of the road. So by attrition, the road moves over a little bit so you can get by the fence without breaking your mirrors off. Then 2 weeks later, you put a fence on that same road, right in the driving track on the other side. So now you break your mirrors off both sides of your truck going in and out. And that's what started this whole thing, because I went to the Board of Commissioners in 2008 for 2 years in front of the Board of Commissioners. I said, I have a decree here from the court that says it's a county road. Whether you like it or not, it's your road. This guy is impeding it. Would you please do something about it? Because the court told me I have no standing and I have no right to do anything about it. I completely understand that, completely accept it. So that's what happened then. And that county spent 2 years writing letters to Dr. Hamilton to move your fence and everything else. I had one commissioner said, give me the keys to the grader, I'll go down there and tear it out myself. And finally, to resolve it, the board at that time said, instead of fixing the problem, we're going to create this deed and deed it to me and my wife. So now you have the problem. Now it's your road, now it's your problem, now you take care of it. So we did that, reluctantly, but I had no choice. So we had a deed, it was our property. We removed the fence, we paid to have the survey, we removed the fence, moved in off the survey marks, and put up a new fence. And then Hamilton sued the county for their action. And to be honest with you, rightfully so, because they created a deed on property they didn't own. And the court upheld that that wasn't proper, and that put it back in the county's hands. Now we've got two courts. A district court and a higher court rule that that's a county road. And it's on the county road of record. It has been since 1952. And you get HUTF money for that road. Not all of it, but for most of the entire length. And just because of use or non-use, the length of that road has shortened, which makes sense. But we're back to a county road. And the other problem that gets created is, like I said before, our county doesn't really have a defined width of their easements on their roadways, which is fine if you don't have greedy landowners trying to take every inch of grass up to the edge of the dirt. But when that happens, it creates a problem for road and bridge. They have problems on the west side of the valley with landowners that don't like taking the willows out. If they don't take them out, the road drifts over, they can't keep it open. And they can't because it's not defined. So this is one particular piece of road in the county that's probably going to have to make that decision because, as everybody here knows, the county has spent a ton of money over litigation on that road because one guy wants to control it.
Can you identify where those fences were in 2010?
Exactly where we put it back.
That's what I'm saying, but you can identify where that is.
Yes.
So if we say that they have to be put back to that location, and that identifies subject to additional needs of width of the right-of-way, would that be sufficient?
Just for some clarification, when you refer to the fence in 2010, that fence was put in based on the deed the county created when they got rid of the road.
What about prior to that?
Prior to that, surprisingly, that deed is almost exactly where the historic fence was. It changed just a little bit because the survey is a straight line. So within a couple of feet, it's the same location. But I do have measurements where the old fence was.
Okay. Thank you for the good summation. Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions?
Don't sit down.
Okay.
Am I correct in reading some information that I've obtained that historically the width of the road was 45 feet?
No, historically, the width was never defined except for that one exception in 1994 when Eileen Copper entered into an agreement with the county to give the county a 45-foot wide easement for the road, 20-foot wide driving surface, the rest for snow removal, the way the agreement reads. But that's the only section of County Road 390 that has a specific width. Everything else is indeterminate, been based on adverse possession, easement, prescriptive easements over the years.
A follow-up question, if I may. The last thing in the world I want this county to do is to pay huge sums of legal fees over a dispute between landowners. I just don't feel I'm a good steward of the taxpayers' money, paying lawyers to fight between two landowners. Do you have a recommendation? What is the best course of action for the commissions to take to keep us out of the courthouse again?
The only way that I think you're going to stay out of going to court for sure is to do nothing on this, and the problem will continue. If the commissioners decide to, there's strong legal authority that they can declare the width of the easement, whatever they feel is reasonably necessary. It doesn't have to be 45 feet wide, that may be more than is really necessary, but they can declare a width of an easement. And the county also has the right, and again, there's strong legal authority for it, to decide whether or not that's going to be fenced. Can't make Dr. Hamilton fence it if we don't want to. It would have to be the county fencing it, and then we'd have to make some kind of reasonable accommodation for him to move cattle. There'd have to be some gates, but they'd have to be moved through and not be allowed to just graze on the road, because it's against the law for cattle to graze on a public right-of-way that's fenced. So, and I guess the only other thing I can say is that there is litigation. It's not going to cost the county hundreds of thousands of dollars. I work for a fixed amount each month, and if there's litigation, I'm not going to charge the county any more for it, especially if you acted on my advice. And I'm not saying do either one. I'm just trying to explain the options, but it's not going to.
I think we've got one other factor too in this, and that's the right of way for the phone lines. Isn't there some utility easement there that we need to be protecting?
Yes, see, when Hamilton put that fence in the roadway in 2008, they had a locate company come up and locate the phone, and then they promptly drove their fence post right through the phone line in several locations. The phone company came up and did a temporary repair by laying a drop on the ground, and one of Hamilton's guys came up and tore it out. Phone company came back and repaired it again and put it in the pedestal. The same guy came back and tore it out of the pedestal. Phone company said, we're no longer going to provide phone service until there's some solution here. When the county deeded that property to us, I went to the phone company and said, I have a deed, I own that property, will you now install a phone line? He said, absolutely. So they hooked onto a pedestal in the roadway, and they buried new phone cable. But it's not in the driving surface. It's off the south side of the road between the ditch line and the fence that was recently taken down. But it was within that described easement width from that document the county provided. So there's buried phone in the road, or in the right of way.
One other question, Mike, just so they have all the information. When the fencing was there, what was the width between the fences approximately?
Well, when the county deeded it, they didn't survey it. So I hired a surveyor, and I surveyed the description of that deed for that road area, and it was a width of 40 feet. So when the survey pins were put in, I came in 3 feet from the survey pins and installed the fence to make absolutely certain there was no encroachment on any property.
3 feet on either side?
No, because there was a fence that Hamilton had installed in 2008 when he fenced on the north side of the road. That fence was still there. It was encroaching on the survey pins, but I didn't mess with that fence. I just moved the other one because we could get through.
I guess the question I've got, and this is for the commissioners, getting information for them. The width of the road, as I understand it, the one that we're talking about is about 16 feet driving
16
surface.
to 20 feet.
And how much do you feel is necessary for an easement? I mean, how wide total?
I keep getting asked that, but it's a county road, so.
Well, I'm just asking, I mean, Gary?
Well, when we went out and looked at it, Roger and I, we tried to determine how much width of the road we need for a cattle guard. And it's very minimal we come up with for a cattle guard, it's like 20 feet. Well, in order to be able to put access around the end of the cattle guard for livestock, well, for horses, a buggy, and stuff like that, I think it was gonna require more than a 45-foot easement, at least half the person of the town.
And this proposal I drew up actually had to go out to 60 feet there, so you would have the place for the bike path.
Now, maybe as a guideline, the HUTF requirement to get funding, to meet the requirement to get the fundings from the state to maintain your county roads requires a 20-foot driving surface. It doesn't talk about width for snow removal or ditches, but it requires a 20-foot driving surface. And so the county gets funds from the state for that criteria on their county roads. Now, face it, not all these county roads are 20 feet wide because it's just not practical. And in places it's not necessary.
Now, with the exception of where the cattle guards is, the 45 feet would be adequate for the bridge department to maintain that.
Why wouldn't 45 feet be adequate for the cattle guard?
Because you have to put a gate around one side.
But the cattle guard's 20 foot, right?
It's 20 foot, but that only, well,
That's right, we went with
we went with 12 foot, but because of the slopes on each side of the road, that takes up about 4 feet, so that only leaves you 8.5 feet on each side, and that's not enough width.
Yeah, one of the stipulations, or one thing Gary and I talked about was making sure that Mike has enough room for his horses and buggies to get around through those.
And so we took a tape out there, we did measure it, 60 feet would give us enough room to get like a dually.
I don't know of any gates I'm thinking on cattle guards that are 16 feet wide.
The gates themselves. Well, we're trying to keep the fences even on both sides.
Because this is
Not crowd one side in order to make room for the gate. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna bring the fence closer to the road.
Right, and if the
we
cattle
don't
guard
wanna
is
do that.
is
Right, keep
inaccessible.
the road evenly spaced between.
We're not gonna have a cattle guard, so that's not an issue.
Just like hay equipment. You know, I've got a 16-foot head on my swather, so you've got to be able to get that stuff in and out. And not just for me, for anybody that uses that road. I just think, I built roads for a living for many years, I just think it's smart. Part of the road structure, the county's infrastructure is one of their assets. And if you have your roads and you take care of them, roads you're not even using, you don't want to abandon it. It's future infrastructure. So you have to plan ahead. What's a practical width to maintain a county road? And that's the question. I guess you asked me, I'll tell you. I think 45 feet wide is consistent with what you already have in the previous section of road.
You had a comment?
Yes, we've talked about,
Well, all I want you to raise your hands here.
both of us have.
Well, one goal, then the other. Take your pick.
We keep talking about the cattle guard, talking about the cattle guard. If we didn't have the cattle guards, which I brought up at the last meeting, put the dang fences back where they belong, put 2 gates, one on each side of the road. They can open and close and move the cattle across there
That's basically what we said.
any way they want to. You don't have to have the cattle guards at all. And you got the fencing and everything would be taken care of.
I talked to Hamilton's men, okay, Marvin and Chris. Okay. And one of the problems that they were saying that they had was there was no water on this other part of the land. That's why they wanted this free passages. But that's not true. Because when the Coppers were there, there is a well, and Chris admits to it. And he says at one time they had a windmill there. It was a wooden one and it burned down. It's not a great well, but it's enough because it's a very small acreage, but it's enough to water the cows. So that's one thing. The other thing is Marvin told me that Dr. Hamilton has finally decided he's going to quit suing, whatever that is worth to him.
Okay, well, I appreciate those comments. I want to get back to the point at hand. I think we're down to either doing it or doing nothing. Taking action today to do nothing and revert back to where we were in 2010, or prior to 2010, or that we say you can do that if you fence it. I think it's not an and, it's an either or. And I would be happy to entertain a motion regarding either of those options.
Okay, I'll, waiting for somebody else to speak, but I'll jump in here. My only concern,
Speak up so they hear you.
my only concern is the taxpayer dollars. That's my only concern. We've been dealing with this for a long time, and we need to resolve it. From the county side, resolving it means, in my opinion, grounding. So I would make a motion that we do nothing. We do not approve cattle guards, we do not approve fences, we do not establish the width of the road, we do nothing because that, based on advice from council, is the best avenue not to have to pay for legal fees. So that would be my motion.
Would be or is?
Is, sorry, thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, I'd like to suggest an amendment to the motion. In addition to reverting back to the right-of-way as established prior to 2010, I would also, I think we need to add that the existing utility easements will be continued to be utilized. I think that's important to protect your phone line.
I'll accept
What do you think, Mike? All right?
I can't hear you.
I said that the existing utility easements will continue to be utilized. If you got an easement there, that's where it's going to be. It's not going to be used. I don't think we have any standing in the county on what a utility easement is. But in our county statement, we're saying that these need to be continued where you have a utility easement to protect them. Did you hear me then? Yes, ma'am.
If you take a stand on no fences, then how do you propose that the rest of us manage Hamilton's house? Is he going to be allowed to graze? I mean, it's his property, so if he uses that for grazing, then are you back to you have to fence him out?
At that point, I'll refer to legal counsel. First of all, by grazing on the right-of-way where it should be fenced is an issue. I don't know from a law standpoint what that is. I'm not an attorney, ma'am. I think we're only talking, what, 900 feet roughly, Mike, would you guess?
Probably about that, yes.
I mean, it's not miles and miles and miles that we're looking at.
Completely understood, but if he...
But if we say back to where it was to 2010, that includes that there was a fencing.
So then will he be expected to put that back since he removed it?
Well,
I would think.
somebody's going to have to put it in there.
We can't make him put the fence back up. It would have to be the county's expense. If the county decides it wants to return the property to its historical use, being fenced, then the county would have to go put the fence back up. Generally, all the fences have been put up by property owners, but if somebody takes it down, the county would have to put it back up again. Then it's the county's fence, and if we decide to put some gates through so we can get from one side to the other, that the county would do that.
Can you amend that to do that?
I have two questions, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
So everybody on County Road 390 and 391, we all have to close our gates to keep his cows. What's going to keep them from getting the highway?
Bingo. That's why they probably have to put a fence up.
But he won't. He doesn't care. You don't understand his mentality.
I'm not going to get into that, ma'am, but that's an issue. You're exactly where we are.
But I've also got something on that. I have fencing around my property. Some of it Mr. Hamilton put in, okay? It's in bad shape, and I took Marvin down and showed it to him. But if I've got to fence that property, I got to have that cattle guard back on 391.
I think we need to clean them. I think we reached that decision the other day.
So there's two cattle guards on
Roger, are you
391.
familiar with those?
That are buried.
Those two that are buried
No.
on his road? Apparently, the county
Right
buried.
at 390 and 391,
Okay.
there's a cattle guard just on 391.
Okay, that's.
It's
the
an old one, yeah,
Okay, all right, yes, I am.
okay. And then there's another one further down where it goes from my property to Bona Boys.
I'm going to limit discussion to 5 more minutes because we do need to move along. Jay and then Mike.
I have two questions. The first one is, maybe you guys can give me an estimate.
Speak up.
If the county chose to put in the 900 feet of fencing, what kind of cost do you think that would be? Because it's going to be on our easement if we did that.
Well, you can figure a post every 16 feet. If you go back in and wooden posts, those are, what, $12 a piece, so. Without a calculator, I mean, Mike might handle this. It's gonna be kind of pricey.
Well, I bought all, and put in all the fence that got taken out. And I know the county spent a lot of money on this. I spent a lot of money on this. If the county will define their easement and the state build the fence within your easement, I'll donate all the fence material if the county will put it up.
And back to the cost of fencing, the latest figures that I've been able to pull together is it's kind of running about $5,000 a mile to put in fence. It's about $1 a foot. So this fence would be about $900.
Well, that's not bad.
Less than if the materials were donated, it would just be the labor.
Pardon me?
Less than that if the materials were donated.
Right, but I'm just trying to give everybody an idea what we're talking about.
That's a fair.
Okay, we need to move this. John, quickly.
How would there ever be closure without a survey?
Because we have right of adverse possession. And that's where the established road is. By statute, we have whatever is necessary to maintain the road as a right.
You still don't have to define that?
Pardon me?
You still don't have to define what that roadway is?
We just say we have to have another 10 feet to fix this washout, or to you move some trees, I think, Kevin, in the past. We had to expand the right of way to move them.
Legally, it's sufficient to say the right-of-way is, whether it's 15 feet, 20 feet on either side of the center line of the existing road.
Well,
And that's how it would be defined.
I want to move along. Jay, do you have anything else?
The second question I had was, I know in the resolution, Clint, you said that we're not setting a precedent. I just want to verify that if the county decided to pay, I'm just going to throw out a rough number, $1,000 to put up the fence and not define the road, because I understand the donation is based upon a definition of the road. So if we ended up paying for it, this is not something that's going to come back to us next month, next year, 10 years from now saying, wait a minute, you did it for these folks, you have to do it for me too. That's a concern I have.
And that's why in the proposed draft I did, made it very clear that this is not establishing any precedent for the county. This is a specific solution to a very specific fact situation for a problem that's been existing for a long time. It's not something that's going to be a county-wide policy.
One question, once the fence is put back in place by the county, who maintains it from that point?
It would be county fence then.
So the county.
I think that can be negotiated. If we put it in, I think we'd be in agreement, but we think the landowner should maintain it, because in most cases, that's what they do.
Yeah, that's something, just as a quick aside to that, we made that a policy years and years ago. If that thing is not 30 foot off the center of the road, we tear it up plowing snow, we are not liable for that fence. And that's somewhere.
Okay, I make a motion that we...
There is a
motion.
Excuse me, I have an amendment that's not been acted upon. We have to act on the amendment, I think, before we go to the motion. I make a motion that we amend the original motion to add the existing utility easements will continue to be utilized. All in favor, say aye.
To amend my motion, right?
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Jay, question?
I don't think that's appropriate. Mr.
Yes, question.
Chairman, I think the person who made the motion, according to Robert's rules, is the one who has to make the amendment to it. But I will make that amendment to my motion.
Okay, and will the second also do that?
I agree
Okay.
to second that amendment of the motion that was just amended.
I'm not sure I'm ready to vote at this moment because I'm torn between whether we should spend $1,000 to put the fence up and maintain it. I think that's the right thing to do. I'm concerned about it though. The last thing, like I said, my only concern here is getting back into litigation. Clint assured us that, there's not going to be the ridiculous numbers that we paid previously. So I think I would like to amend my motion additionally by saying the county will install approximately 900 feet of fencing at county expense, and the county maintain it along with the utility easements that you brought up.
Mike?
Can I comment briefly on that?
You don't have a second?
That's only for one side of the road.
I'm not second.
You've just got materials for one side.
I'm
It's all donated material for the other side.
looking at what was recommended by the league.
I'll donate it for both sides.
We just want to be done.
Let's go back to the original statement I made. Revert to the initial right-of-way as established prior to 2010, including the existing fencing at that time.
How would that happen? Who's putting the fence up? If you revert back to the 2010, it was a fence, but now it's county road, so I don't know.
There's no one here from Dr. Hamilton's group.
Pardon me, sir?
There's no one that can talk for Dr. Hamilton here.
No, because he wants it for next month.
I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but I'm sorry, but I think you gotta wait on him and see what he's gonna come up with. Because you don't have an answer now. And Laura, I apologize, but what are you gonna do? But maybe you can put in something on the thing that says, this is what we're going to require of you if you do not come to the next meeting with some kind of agreement. And this is what we want.
I personally think that needs to happen anyway.
We have order, please. Order, please. Go ahead, ma'am.
I personally think that needs to happen today because this item was on the agenda. He knew that. He's the one at the last meeting that said, we are ready to move on this, and he was putting your feet to the fire that you wanted to send him quickly. And he's the one that tore it out against your recommendation that he wait.
I appreciate your concern, ma'am, but the actions on the board, we have to decide what's going to be reasonable. And go from there. I appreciate your comment. All right, I'm going to call for the question on the motion and with this.
But there wasn't a second to the amendment.
Oh, nobody seconded it?
No. Could someone read it?
I'll rephrase the motion. The motion is that the county do not put in the cattle guards, revert back to the 2010, the status of the road, the county road in 2010, which included a fence. That, since it would be on county property, would have to be installed and maintained by the county, and would include access to the electrical and utility easements. That's the motion on the table, to the best of my knowledge.
Both sides of the road?
The easement?
No, the fencing.
No. Was it originally on both sides of the road in 2010?
Yeah.
And it would have to be, if we're going back to 2010, that's what it would be.
Is there a second?
I think you need to add 2 gates on that.
Excuse me?
I think you need to add 2 gates on that fencing.
Okay, what we need to, yeah, okay. Is there a second to the motion? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there any other action we want to take on this today? My feeling is this. At our last meeting, we said A or B, which are we going to do? And now we're getting some more delay. And I'm not so sure about what we can say in view of the lack of a timely response. The position of the board is that it reverts back to where it was prior to 2010, and that's it.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion based on legal counsel. No action be taken, and that is our official stand.
Your motion,
based on counsel's.
your motion is that no action be taken regarding the cattle guards.
Correct. Or the fencing,
Okay.
or the utilities, or anything else. We take no additional actions. We do nothing.
I'll second that motion as stated.
Is there any other discussion? Motion's been made and seconded that we do nothing regarding the existing right-of-way, the fencing, what else did you have, Jay? The easements?
Cattle guards.
The width
And the cattle guards.
cattle guards,
Fencing.
fencing, gates, anything that's been proposed.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So just for final clarification, it's a county road, you guys are gonna take care of it, and what's sitting there today is how it is.
It's a county road to your gate. We get paid to take care of that, right, Roger? So we have to maintain that road unless you want to, Mike, if you're snowed in and need to get out or something. But I think we need to at least maintain that road to the end of the county road.
Good enough. Thanks for making the
Okay.
decision.
Anything else on this item?
So this is the final decision today?
Done? Done.
Done.
Thank you.
Good party, man. Where's the whiskey?
Okay, the next item of business on the agenda are the Hermit Bridge project and Potential Engineering.
Now, can you just say for everyone this clarification that Molly Chilson is...
Oh, Molly Chilson, the district attorney, for those of you that are here, was going to meet with us today, and she's postponed to a later date. And I'm giving you all public notice that we will be going to, at least I will be, and I don't know about my colleagues, but we have a meeting with our fellow county commissioners in Salida at 2 o'clock on the 2nd of August. And I'm going to be going to it. I don't know what the other two will or not, but that's, again, we'll be addressing the district attorney's budget. We've had some problems in the past. The caseload has gone up dramatically. The budget has not, doesn't appear to allow sufficient funds to hire additional assistant DAs. They hire them and they lose them about 12 months later as they go into private practice. We approved a 20% increase last year in the district attorney's budget, which is what they asked for. Fremont did not, Chafee did, and Park did. So I'm sure that's only, again, the items on discussion. I'm speaking for myself, but quite frankly, folks, I feel very strongly about law and order. I think we have to have a sheriff's department that has the tools and the vehicles and the personnel to do their job, and I think we have to have adequate district attorneys to prosecute those cases that want prosecution. I don't want them just to be shoved aside because we don't have time. We've seen an awful lot of cases plea bargain because they don't want to go trial. And quite frankly, many times that there's one district attorney investigator and the defendant may have 3 or 4 investigators from the public defender's office to gather information. So, but that's the reason she was going to be here today, but she didn't make it, so we'll scratch that. The next one then will be...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that prior to you coming, and I understand you were delayed by the construction, I had asked to amend the agenda. We took a vote and it was agended to include the VSO raise as part of today's agenda.
I have that on here.
I didn't know that.
But that, but the question on this, and I'm going to go to Counselor, and I know some of you are very concerned, but this refers to a personnel matter, and this would appear to be something that has to be done in executive session. We're talking about an individual's pay raise.
It's really not about a particular individual. It's about the position he holds and what that salary should be for that position. I don't think it requires executive.
All right.
I think so.
Let's go to the next item on the agenda, though I have is the Hermit Bridge project.
Last time we talked about this, our concern was what Tennessee Engineering might charge as the engineering firm for this project. And Amanda was going to be gone till the 10th. She's the chief engineer for Tennessee Engineering. So anyway, as soon as she got back on the 11th, we got a hold of her. solid numbers before we can make a decision on whether to hire them or not. So she was going to spend some time this week trying to put that together for us. Well, she at the same time got a hold of Jimmy Hasten with CDOT, her engineer, project manager for this. Anyway, he said that he felt like the project was underestimated, like it's going to come to considerably more than $140,000. And based on that information, Amanda really can't give us an estimate because she has some more facts on this. So I know a high-end estimate that she gathered based on data that she's collected about this project, she said that it could range upwards of $250,000. Of course, that's going to be a considerable shortfall.
$250,000 to put a bridge across Great Creek, which is what, maybe 16 feet span of recovery?
Well, there's 3 6-foot diameter culverts in there now, and there's distance between those 3, so, as far as the span, it's going to be 20 or 22 feet.
Yeah, the structure measured 33 feet wide by 36 feet long.
But there's federal funds tied to it. That's why the price escalates so much. Just like the environmental impact study could range upwards of $16,000, and then there's a lot of other fees that we'd normally not encounter on a project like this, but we will now because there's federal funds tied to it. So anyway, best case, there's a way to come up with the difference on that $250,000. Right now, we're funded from CDOT for their portion is $112,000, and the county's portion was going to be $28,000 to make up that $140,000. But since it's going to be considerably more, what Amanda suggested we do is apply for a grant through DOLA, which we've got until August 1st to do, and she thinks there's a strong possibility we could come up with the difference between the $140,000 and upwards of $250,000. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. I got a hold of, I had a call in with Christy Doon she's a regional manager for DOLA for our area, and I've not heard back from her yet, but I'd like to visit with her about getting this grant from DOLA to come up with that difference. And once I find that out, whether or not that's even a possibility, then that'll tell us what.
I think we also need to visit with her because we have a working relationship on a lot of other grants. So, good on the work, but can we get this state highway engineer at our next meeting, possibly?
Are you talking about Jimmy, the project manager for
$250,000? Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I know he suggested in one of his emails that we get together with them and Atencio to discuss the project, so I can get a hold of both of them and see if they're available for the next meeting.
See when you can. And maybe we just have a workshop.
And in the meantime, I think I need to go ahead and proceed with this DOLA grant application because we've got until August 1st.
Are you working with her on the grant tabs?
Well, yeah. I'd like to work with Brenda on that and then us get with DOLA.
Because then it has to come through us before it can be submitted.
Possibly. I looked at the grant application briefly this morning. There's a lot to it, a fair amount anyway. But I think we can get this pushed through. It's got to be submitted electronically. And that'll give us enough time, since we're not having to mail it, and we can get it into them by August 1st. But I think even if we don't use that grant, I think we should still go ahead and apply for it.
So I want to shoot down your balloon, but DOLA has done in the past, they've really been cut back, major cutbacks on their funding. They're still trying to get some additional funding. So if they've got some funding, hoping we can get it done.
Yeah, me too. At least worth a try. And they said that they'll make their decision in November on where that money goes, that DOLA's going to give out. So I think it's important to at least submit the grant application.
I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying, we need to go through the process, just not ship off. So you guys work on it, and then we'll bring it to us.
Sure.
And then we'll push it forward from there.
It's done prior to August 1st. I don't know when your next meeting is going to be.
July 31st.
July 31st,
Okay.
last day.
Well,
And I think it's actually due as the 31st, not the 1st.
yeah, according to.
Because she's been through a lot of these.
Okay, well, that's great, but I know that Amanda in her email stated something about August 1st.
So, well, I think I downloaded the forms and it said July 31st. So.
July 31st? Yeah.
Which is one day prior.
Anything else on that? Okay, see if we can get a meeting. This is a workshop, separate from a commission meeting. We set it up, we need to, so we can understand where we are, get on the same page, because we can move forward. Because we need to have some numbers that go to DOLA that are realistic. This is what happened on the Wetmore Community Building. When we started off, we were looking at, I don't know, 400,000 or something other, and when we got down to it, they had to make some supplemental appropriations to us. So I want to be sure we've got a realistic number on this cost.
Well, I know one of the questions posed to Jerry from Amanda was how much his project estimate would be on this Great Creek project. So maybe he can shed some light on it, what he thinks the realistic number is for this particular project. So we'll find out.
Maybe we need to have some construction companies come in and make a bid to us and what they think of the project.
Well, being a seasoned engineer, he should be able to come up with this number. She's done enough. Trying to get a contractor in between now and when this grant application is released.
Talk about that next week.
Yeah. We'll do
Well, let's the three of us get together.
Yeah, there's already been $111,000 or $116,000 appropriated through this, through
the city.
CDOT.
Yeah.
That's
their portion's 112.
And that's, so we need to.
What do you guys have tomorrow morning? Any big fires burning?
My thing is, Jimmy has been involved in this from day one, and this is the first time that he said that, oh, that's not the right number.
And it's after we had to make contact with people. Yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean,
Because he approved the previous,
yeah, it's almost like he sort of dropped the ball on it.
I don't know.
Okay, can we get together tomorrow sometime? It'd be good for you guys. Afternoon, morning, what's best?
First, well, about 8:30 in the morning.
8:30? I'll meet you at the shop and we'll see what else we need to do. If that's okay, the other two commissioners, then I'll let you know what we got done. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your help.
We did get chip seals done, guys, and everybody I'm hearing from says did a great job. I personally commended the guys this morning.
Thank you.
I thought they did excellent.
That's why I called them on the radio. Maybe you guys heard me the other day. Yeah. Thank you, but you did a hell of a job. All right. The next item was the GoPro grant for Wetmore playground equipment. Who's the leader on this?
Brenda.
I am. Well, and last year we tried to do this and it just didn't get done. I guess part of the whole Wetmore Community Center was going to be at some point putting in new play equipment. I don't know how many kids there are in Wetmore.
That's the question we
I
have.
really don't, but that was two. Okay. But, you know, I don't know if you've seen what's there, but it's pretty darn rickety.
Yeah, but it's really fair to say, today there's 2. Maybe in a year from now there'll be 22. We just don't know. That's what, I'm gonna look to the future, not for what it stands for just at this moment.
You what, Jay?
Now, even though we have just a couple of small children in Wetmore now, that doesn't mean in a few years, 10 years, whatever, we may have many children. So I'm just not ready to throw this out the window because we only have 2 kids today. I mean, I don't know what the future may hold.
Well, I would like to see maybe something come forth from the advisory board down there, what they would like to see also.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can, I think with the improvements of the community center in the past, there's been many community functions for children, you know, Easter egg hunts and, you know, all kinds of different things there. And also traveling people, a lot of people stop and use the community center. So even though there might just be 2 kids that live right in Wetmore right now, there's a lot of neighboring kids. And I think with the improvement, the community building is going to see a lot more use. I think this is an excellent idea. I would like to see it go forward.
But I think we need to, again, I think we need to come through the advisory group down there, what they want, so we got some ideas what we're talking about.
Well, I know that there's been a deadline, Brenda. I guess my concern about going forward, this is saying that the applicants must provide at least 25% of the total project in matching funds and at least 10% of which must be a cash fund. So I think we have a little bit of research to do before I would agree to anything.
Yeah, the mini grant, the total project cost can be $60,000. So 10% of 60 would be 6. And then the rest of that 25% could be like road and bridge work or volunteers or whatever.
But I mean, I see what the limits are of the grant, up to $45,000 per project costing $60,000 or less. So to me, you have to look at what this right picture is.
Yeah, so
Okay, I think we've got more homework to do, and
I have one thing to add
I'll
to
leave
that.
it.
Is it okay?
And-
Is it okay if I bring it to the advisory?
Well, I think you need
commission
to.
down there?
No, please.
I will do it.
and then if I could be involved in that, Jay, please.
Ma'am?
Could I be involved in that since I'm probably doing that?
Also, really bad, I want you to look at it, is the liability. Playground equipment has huge liability on it. And if it's open to the public, if I'm driving by and I stop and let my child play on your playground equipment and breaks an arm or something, so the liability is just unbelievable on a playground equipment
I agree. Actually, most are fenced in, Jackie.
because of that.
Yes.
Okay. We refer this back to Jay then for further information. We've already covered the cattle guards. Next, we have a pay raise to consider for the veteran service officer. This is under my auspices. I see that Jay put it on the agenda, but the point being is that, and I don't have the actual numbers here, but we are close to, I think we're close to 400 veterans that we're serving now, 300 to 400. And that's up from, well, probably maybe 100, 125 when Tim took over the job as veteran service officer. And what are you saying to me?
Only 4? There's 1,100 veterans.
It's 400.
400 veterans that he's had contacts with in the office.
Right.
Not the 400 veterans that are in the county, but he's initiated contacts with 400 of them.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Getting people out of county.
you get people, he's getting more and more in the system all the time. Tim is also working some in Wetmore. We'll be working out at the community center down there. And is pulling some veterans from the Florence and Canyon City area because he's able to get things done when they haven't been able to get it done on the other side. We've also had a few coming up from the Gardner area because it's shorter for them to come to Westcliff, or easier for them than it is to go to Walsenburg. So, as a commissioner and responsible for veteran services, I really feel that Tim has done an excellent job to this point. He's got some national certifications that lets him do some things directly from Westcliff to Washington without having to go through Denver. He's been able to bring back some widow benefits, survivor benefits is the right word, from some Vietnam War vets that passed away. Nothing had been activated. He's been able to go back and get them some help. So it's been very positive. Good.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just give you some of the numbers. What happened is the federal government allocated additional funds to our local VSO office. Previously, it was $1,380 a month, and they're increasing that to $1,950 a month. So we're talking about an increase of $470. If you remember, sir,
This is the state increase that has just come
this is the
down.
state increase that's coming to Custer County.
Effectively when?
Effective
July 1.
What's it?
July 1.
July 1.
July 1.
So it's in effect right now. If you remember, sir, Tim has talked to us multiple times about, as you mentioned so correctly, his workload has significantly increased. He's done such a terrific job. He had asked for an increase in salary at the time, and since this is a state-funded position, we weren't really in a position, we were waiting for this to come through. Since this came through, There's no additional cost to the county for doing this. So I would like to recommend, and I don't know if it needs to be a motion, that we increase Tim Schwartz's salary by the difference between what we were getting and what we are getting. It's $470 a month as additional compensation for him, with also a thank you for a great job he's done.
The only problem I've got with that, according to our personnel policy, we're supposed to have reviews.
Okay, he has, I understand that. He spoke with Donna Hobby, and she's recommended that they could do it effective July 1. And I agree with you that the review process is certainly an integral part of any salary increases. I think we're the ones who would be doing his, and I think we have all stated publicly multiple times how happy we are with the work he did. So I would anticipate that when the actual review is done, he will get a very positive outlook.
I appreciate your comments. The point I'm at is that we're not following our personnel procedures. If it's good for one, it's good for all. I think we can do this ASAP, but I think, Donna, what's your thought? You're put the procedure plan all together.
I think the review needs to be done, but with the understanding, as required by the state, that the increase is retroactive as of July 1.
Okay, that's fine. With the review being completed by the end of the month. Would you accept that, Jay?
I think that'd be fine.
What we've done, folks, we went through our personnel policy and cleaned up a lot of things and put some procedures in place. And one of them is that all personnel will be reviewed, the performances by the supervisors, which in this case ends up being the 3 commissioners. But I would like to follow our procedure that we've done, not just initially step off and say, well, this is our thing, we're going to ignore it, but you still have to follow it from your side.
Right. Thank you. I just want to add that Donna has all evaluations that the commissioners will be giving in her office at this time.
So, would you repeat your motion then, Jay?
I make a motion that we perform the proper personnel evaluation for our VSO officer, and pending a positive outcome, that he receive a retroactive salary increase of the $470 additional dollars. Will that work?
I would add retroactive to July 1.
Okay, I said retroactive, but retroactive to July 1.
Second? I'll second that. Any discussion?
My calculation is it's $570.
That's certainly possible.
3.85.
A math major, I wasn't. Thank you very much. It's $570. I apologize, it was unintentional.
All right, with the motion, I'll accept the amendment. If you accept the correction, we will proceed then with any other discussion among the commissioners. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff reports.
That's me. Okay, first of all, I think everyone received a letter in their packet from the Custer County Planning Commission stating, do you guys want me to read the letter out loud? And it's concerning the IBC code.
Yes.
Okay. At a regular scheduled meeting of the Custer County Planning Commission on July 11, 2017, one item of business was a discussion and recommendation regarding the June 26, 2017 public meeting regarding the proposed 2006 International Building Code and the 2006 Fire Code. Notification of this public meeting followed standard procedure as provided by the Colorado Revised Statute. At the June 11, 2017 meetings, the Planning Commission voted 5-2 to recommend to the Board of Custer County Commissioners that the Custer County zoning resolution not be amended to incorporate the 2006 International Building Code and the 2006 Fire Code. This decision was based on the June 26, 2017 public meeting that attended by 74 people. 20 of those people gave public testimony. 13 of those people were opposed to a building and fire code for Custer County. 5 were in favor of the building code and the fire code for Custer County, and 2 were neutral. It is important to note that the recommendation of the Planning Commission was based on the June 26, 2017 meeting and is applicable at the point in time. This recommendation does not preclude other options for amending the Custer County zoning resolution regarding a building and a fire code at a later date. And county commissioners have the recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Would you thank them for doing this and for taking this under advisement? Commissioner, I would like to recommend that we put this as an agenda item for a future meeting if we choose to pursue it further.
At a future meeting?
If that's acceptable with you. If we choose to pursue it.
Donna?
I guess I just have a comment, because I was present at this meeting. I wasn't aware of the process that you would only have one meeting. Is that your normal process, to have one public meeting?
Yes, we have 1 or 2 depending on, but we also received 110 signatures against it that I didn't count because I did not verify them. I verify if you're a Custer County resident. So I did take some of the people off because they said they say their address and some of them didn't live in Custer County. Whether they were for it or against it.
But I mean, was that a formal petition that went around?
It was on a poll that was handed to us.
A poll?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And who did the poll?
John Johnson handed, Babcock.
Only Babcock did the poll?
I think so. It was on Facebook,
But it come from you.
But it was not counted.
It was not counted, I guess, but what I'm saying to you is,
I guess from history, let me give you a little bit of history. This has been done 4 times. I have not been present.
what's been done 4 times?
Trying to
clarify.
Trying to get a building code in Custer County.
Okay.
Has been done 4 times. The Planning Commission felt that at this time that, and I was only available to stuff envelopes the last time, that it has not been well received, and that right now Custer County is getting out of a slump, and they just weren't for it. They felt that the overall public was not for it. Now, they did feel that the overall public was for fire mitigation and educating people.
I was present at that meeting, and yes, I did hear that, but that was one meeting. And I guess where I'm coming from, Jackie, and who all is in attendance, is not everybody is going to get up in public and say what they want to, as the ones that you have listed here. Because I was actually approached after the meeting, not just that night, but afterwards. So we do have people in this county that do want building codes. So at this point in time, I'm going to publicly say that I'm not satisfied with having one meeting.
Okay, so I guess then the ball would be, if the recommendation has been made by the Planning Commission.
Come to us and then we have more hearings.
So then the ball is in your court now to either take the Planning Commission recommendation.
Okay.
Or not take and go from there.
Now, this has been, how many years? It's been up 4 times?
37 years.
In the last 15 years, 20 years?
37 years.
Pardon?
37 years.
37 years. How many in the last 15 years?
It was done in 2003. 2008.
This is number 3 in the last 15 years.
2008 when I was stuffing envelopes.
2008?
And we did the poll.
And now?
And now.
Can I ask a question about the poll? Was this a mail-in poll? I mean, I know nothing about,
No, the poll that we did in 2008.
no, I'm talking about the one that
Yeah,
Mr.
what you're
Babcock did.
referencing, what's the poll?
Was that on your website?
No, it's on Facebook.
Facebook.
What Facebook page? Was it the Happenings page, your page?
Where people
Okay, so,
voted yes or no, and it was a yes or no vote, and then their name that they were once
but it
voted.
was your Facebook page, is that correct?
It's not necessarily my page.
You run the page, it's the Custer County Happenings page run by John Johnson.
And I'm just curious, what did it say? What did the poll say?
Basically, it's vote yes or no. Do you want, and I don't remember, do you want a building code do you want the county to adopt a building?
Not scientific.
But I didn't count it. I did not count it, because I did not
That's fine.
feel it was
I appreciate it.
appropriate.
But you brought it up, that's why we're asking.
And it was handed to me during that meeting.
The night that the public knew.
Uh-huh. I really do believe that the planning commission was basing their reaction from that public meeting and also from doing this before. History is repeating itself.
So,
Okay, if no one has an objection,
I
then
have a
I will
question. I have a
suggest we
question,
take this letter under advisement.
I have a
Jay had
question.
something.
I have a question. Did the question come up, because I have advocated that this just be an open, during our November election, a ballot question on the election? Did the Planning and Zoning Committee discuss that
No,
at all?
because what we do is we do a yes or a no recommendation. If you do not take the planning commission's recommendation of no, and you proceed, then you proceed on your own and go to the ballot or just make it a law. You have that right to not take the recommendation of what your planning commission said.
Thank you.
Then you go forward.
Got it, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
All right, what's the pleasure of my colleagues?
I'd like to see it on a future agenda, open to everybody to discuss if we take any action and what action, if we do, or no action at all. I don't think, I personally am ready to discuss it at this meeting right now. since
What I was
it's
going to
on the agenda.
suggest was that we take this letter under advisement. This acknowledges that we've received it and we're reading it, and that that the decision will be, action will be postponed until a future meeting.
I appreciate that, yes, sir. That's
All right.
exactly what I'd like to do. And I'd like to thank the committee.
Is there, just a minute, is there a second?
Who made the motion? You made the motion?
I started to.
I second it.
Any other discussion?
So that was I'm confused. That was a motion? That was a motion?
I made, no, I'm sorry. You keep me straight.
I try. Okay, go ahead.
Basically, that we're taking a letter under advisement and that we will consider this at a future meeting.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is,
Got to vote on that.
oh, sorry.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Okay, motion carries. Next item.
I need permission from the county commissioners to allow on-site wastewater treatment variance. I didn't see no problem with it. The gentleman is got a permit for a small accessory structure, and he's coming up here to store his ATVs in, and he's going a camper, and he needs a variance to make himself legal. And what it is like one of those porta potties that you can get at Walmart, or he could use his camper or something. But one of the things that we do give is variances, and I need permission and from, usually the chairman signs it if he agrees with, and I gave you all a copy of the paperwork. I have the original in my...
Is this,
What's the name of this person?
Shinobi?
'Cause we've got like 20 people here.
No, it's this one right
Which
here.
one?
Genovic.
Okay.
It's an application for Board of County Commissioner variance for on-site wastewater treatment system. That means that the gentleman can use a porta potty and that he's legally been accepted to do that and does not have to install a septic system. This is just so when he brings up his trailer, he can do this on weekends and stuff. Because the limit on camping on your property is 14 days.
So this would enable him to be here longer than 14 days.
Yes, in a given year.
Is there a recommendation?
It says in the application we use 7 to 14 days a year.
Yes, but this is to make sure that I know where his waste is going if he goes over it. He's saying it's 7 to 14 days that he will be out here. We're saying that we're giving him a longer time by allowing him this variance.
What did you say that on the variance?
We don't, but it's a yearly variance that he pays $30 a year for. He's saying he will only utilize this variance 7 to 14 days.
I was gonna say, have you ever done this before?
Yes, it's a frequent flyer.
Jay, this is your area. What's your thoughts?
Is this something that goes before the planning commission for a variance?
No, this is health,
This is administrative action.
this is administrative.
How can we verify that in 6 or 7 months he doesn't put a shed on there and, not a shed, but a home on there, a mobile home or something? How do we verify that?
We verify that very easily because in Custer County, you cannot do nothing without, Monday morning, I got 14 complaints.
And is your recommendation that we approve this?
Yes, sir. I'd rather know where you're using the bathroom than not knowing.
It's right there. It's right there.
Would you please sign that?
Yeah, there's a state requirement on movement.
Do you have any other comments or objections?
I do.
I make a motion that we approve the variance presented to us for, I hope I pronounced the name right.
I'll second that.
It's Genovia, is that correct?
Genovia.
Genovia, on lot 39, Silver Hill Heights, number 7.
That variance was.
I'll second the motion as stated.
I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, today is the 19th.
7:19.
Well, he's signing the variance so we can move along, get out of this hot little room. When I brought that special use permit to the board the other day, there was some confusion. And I think a little bit of the confusion is, I'm going to take responsibility for the confusion. Because I believe that I have set you up so you got the paperwork. But maybe you didn't get all the paperwork. But then I thought, well, maybe she did because you showed me the water thing. And I thought, well, she had to have the paperwork if she had the water thing and stuff. Because remember, you circled the water and I explained that. But then I thought, well, maybe she just got the minutes with the water thing in it. So my proposal, if you agree to this, is I have another one that's coming up August 1st. I have these little plastic sheets, and usually I put everything in there. You see it at the very end. So you're not getting piece by piece by piece. And if you would agree to that, you'll each get them in your box. And it'll be the complete thing, the application, the minutes that are approved, maybe possibly a draft, and then the recommendations. Instead of me going into Brenda's office and saying, here, scan this one to them or scan this. That way you get a complete picture of the beginning to the end.
That will help, Jack. Appreciate it.
Okay, I just wanted to, because that's the one report that you got to see it as a whole, if that's all right with you. And then the next thing on my thing is an airport map. About 3 years ago,
Do we have something on that here, or just?
no, it's going back. So about 3 years ago, the previous county commissioners, I kept complaining that we had 3 maps for the airport. We had the one of the future hangars, the future T hangars, and the ones that are existing. So I kept complaining that I had 3 airport maps. So they agreed to have Walkup and Walkup, who's the surveyor for the county at the time, do one map with all 3 things on it. Walkup gave me the map, and he said, take a look at it, see if you like it. I let Dallas see it, just because I was being nice. And he did not like it because it did not show the maintenance bill. So then I wrote back and sent the map back at the beginning of the week and said, we'd like this in PDF and all this stuff. So Mr. Walkup has agreed to make the changes. His initial bid was $500 to do a new map, and that was 3 years ago. But he has now agreed to do a map with everything on it for possibly $100 because it's taken him so long. But then we'll just have one map, and it'll have the future expansion of the airport so that we're all on the same page. I just want to keep you apprised that a map will be coming.
We'll have that also on PDF.
Yes, it'll be on PDF. We'll make something for the airport and get that map out there when we get it back. And that is it. I gave Mr. Smith. My one concern was this guy, and that's it. Okay.
What else? I see you've got a bunch of letters in here, no actions are necessary.
Most of them, I've listed all the letters that have been sent out. And
For our information.
and then I told you on the 101-07-900, we'll give to the county attorney to write a letter.
Then give it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else from your report?
I have a question. Jackie, on your financial summary, can you just tell us what is entailed in other income that's listed for 2017?
That's if we make copies for people, and they're at, we don't get a lot of money for copies. 25 cents if we, per copy, it's $1 per color copy. But like real estate agents will come in and they'll want to see where the home they're selling septic and stuff is, so, and then any maps or anything like that. Thank you.
Do we have anything else under dark skies and storage containers?
Oh, yes. That is where a motion needs to be made about dark skies and storage containers. If you all agree to send it to the planning commission, then you'll have to make a motion to send it my way to give to the planning commission.
I'd like to move that we...
You just can't take it to them?
Well, last time it was not in a motion. And it has to be a motion. You have to all agree. Not all agree, 2 of you have to agree.
I'll make a motion that we ask the planning committee to make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners regarding 2 issues. The first one is dark skies issue, and the second is storage containers within the county.
I'll second that motion as stated.
Any discussion? I got a question. How come that they take up other stuff without us making motions?
Like?
The other things that we make a motion on the planning, on the building permit, we made a motion to refer to them.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, because it was, yes, because it was in a public meeting and I was sitting there, and Jay made the recommendation and Donna motioned, yes. It was July 6th. July 6th.
All right, do I hear a motion?
We have a motion second.
Second. That's all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I've got a request, it's hopeless, but I really wish you'd stop calling it the dark skies issue. It's a light pollution issue, amending the zoning resolution regarding light pollution. Dark skies is supporting it, but it's
Light
not
pollution.
ours. And it'll still be referred to as dark skies in the newspapers anyway. But
I thought we decided, my mistake, I put dark skies. I thought we decided to call it shielded lights.
And you can call it shielded lights, wherever you'd like, just take our name.
Just call it light pollution issues. Anything else?
Yes, sir. I would like to move our evening meeting, if it's acceptable, to August 2nd. The August 2nd, we have a regular meeting during the day. I would like to, at some point, postpone that meeting, not postpone it, once we finish our business during the day, adjourn and then finish that meeting at 7 o'clock at night in the courtroom to discuss the state of the commissioner items, the state of the county based on the 3 commissioners.
To do all business during the day and then do our commissioner items at the night.
Remember, we have that meeting with the DA at 2 o'clock in Slack. But you really need to be there.
Yep.
Okay, so noted. Anything else for the board?
So is that official? Is it going to be on that day? Are you going to do that, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
July
7
regular meeting in the morning.
7
25th
p.m.
is
Adjourn.
we're casting the meeting on the 25th, moving it to the 7th.
Thank you for that accommodation.
Anything else?
I'd just like to thank the people who traveled out here to do this. This is
At this time, declare the meeting adjourned.
Jay, I would like to commend you for honoring these people that came down today and really making a decision today and not putting it off again.
Thank you very much.